Hello, good morning. We are now starting our workshop. As you know, this is the 8th edition of the workshop ICT for Railways, which is held every other year. So we had a lot of previous editions. Since 2011, we had edition every time in a different city and sometimes also different country. We started, as I said, in 2011 with a first workshop in Prague. And as this was very successful, we thought to go on every time preparing a new edition. We had previous editions in Milan, Birmingham, Brussels, Naples, Toulouse, Munich, and finally today here in Madrid. You can also find information about the previous editions in the event website. There is a page with all the previous editions, and in most cases you can even address there, you can find there the program of the previous edition and all the presentations, sometimes also the videos. So this is to collect a history and to show through this workshop the evolution of railway research, regulations, and of course also standardization, of course, because this workshop is organized by Senelec, and within Senelec the technical committee 9X, which is the technical committee in charge of railway applications. Now we start with welcome presentation, and we have here at the desk Ms. Paloma Cucala, who is the director of Institute for Research in Technology of this university, which is hosting us today. So please have your speech.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Welcome you all. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to our university, Comillas Pontifical University, for this edition of the ICT for Railways. This workshop will bring together experts, researchers, policymakers, and industry leaders to explore how technologies, standards, and policies can shape the railways of the future. Research and innovation are central to the design of tomorrow's railway system, but research alone is not enough. Collaboration between universities, industry, and public institutions is essential to transform ideas into real solutions. Alone, each of us can achieve much, but together we can achieve transformation. Our university has long embraced this mission, not only to generate knowledge, but to ensure that this knowledge is transferred, applied, and converted into real solutions to society. This Institute for Research in Technology, the IIT, at Comillas University, is a proud example of this commitment. It was founded more than 40 years ago, and the IIT is dedicated to applied research, doctoral and postgraduate education, and the transfer of knowledge, technology to society. The Institute actively participates in the international research community, and we are fortunate to count on researchers of recognized international prestige. Within the IIT, the Railway System Research Group has worked side by side with the main railway companies and administrations, both in Spain and abroad. Together, we have worked in areas as diverse as automatic train operation, ATO, traffic planning and management, energy efficiency optimization, communication and signaling, standardization, electrification, data modeling and exchange protocols, artificial intelligence and maintenance, new materials, the design of mechanical design of the catenary, and we are also proud of having experts participating in international technical committees. Just to share with you some few examples related to challenging projects we are currently involved in. At this moment, we are working on a project that is called Decision Support System. We are collaborating with CAF company that is based on artificial intelligence in order to solve incidents in high-density traffic lines, which will enable highly automatic responses. We are also working on the design of the control system for a new hydrogen train in order to optimize the energy management and reduce the energy consumption. We have a challenging project with ADIF in which we have created, in collaboration with ADIF, a new energy billing methodology that is nowadays applied in Spain within the framework of the liberalization of the railway sector. We are working also in projects to analyze the impact of the use of energy storage systems to show the associated energy savings and also the economical impact of installing them in order to also save and feed energy to stations. This one in collaboration with the UIC. And another one, a last example of many, would be the design of a new ATO system for high-speed trains that is able to drive automatically, efficiently, saving energy, but also recover from delays automatically. These projects and research lines illustrate not only the diversity of our research, but also the way in which different elements of the railway system are interconnected. This systematic vision enables us to achieve higher levels of performance, safety, and sustainability. This is why today's workshop is so valuable. ICT for Railways has over the years built a reputation as a forum where technology meets policy and where standards meet innovation. It's a place to look beyond immediate solutions and to imagine together what the railway of tomorrow should look like. As participants, you will bring with you not only your expertise, but also your perspectives, whether from academia, industry, or policymaking. The richness of this dialogue will be key to identifying challenges and building the common strategies. We all know that the expectations placed on railways are ambitious. They must carry more passengers, transport more goods, and do so more safely, more efficiently, and more sustainably than ever before. So to meet these expectations, railways need not only operational improvements, but systematic innovation at the level of the entire transport ecosystem. So let me conclude just once again by thanking you for being here. We are proud to host this prestigious event, and we hope that your time at our university will be fruitful, inspiring, and enjoyable. Welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paloma. And now I introduce you Mr. José Antonio Mondecar, who is one of the most important persons here because he worked with me and the other members of the working group in organizing this event, which was a long and not always easy job. So please, Professor.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Welcome to everyone to our university. I am very happy that at the end we can organize the workshop here. I remember Bar. Bar is not here, but it's in another room. But please, Jose Antonio, you must organize at your university the workshop. Thanks to our director, also to Paloma, and you and the rest of the CNR group. Well, we are here. Well, I am part of the CNR group, in charge of organizing this ICT for Great Workshop. Also, I am part of the CNR group related with interoperability in the hardware sector and focus in the communication, well, the meter, the energy meter that is installed in the traction unit, and the communication of this energy meter, the EMS, from the traction unit to ground. And also, I have a lot of light in the power system group, in the IC power system group, the TC57, related to power models as seen, and also the communication or the problem related with interoperability. Well, I would like to welcome to the speaker and the attendees in person, online. I hope that the physical online facilities provide the best for presenting and exchanging ideas about communication and information technology applied to the hardware sector. Next, I must deal with some practical matter. I will give you some practical information. The conference rooms have two emergencies exits. One is the main entry, and the other is on my right side. Is there any problem? Please go to the most nearest room, and there you can find the indication for go fast to the street. I hope nothing happening. I am working here for 40 years. I never had to use the emergency room. Okay. Next, the coffee will be served in the first, in the ground floor in our cafeteria, and the lunch will be served in the next building, in the 23. Nevertheless, myself and also Paulo, they know where is the cafeteria, and the student that is helping me, we guide you to the cafe, to the lunch space. In the morning, there is a student in the near the room. If you need something, well, you can ask her or him or to me. Any matter, don't hesitate to contact me. Well, this is all. I hope you find fruitful ideas at this workshop. When you come back to your home, your company, I learn a lot at ICAI. I hope.
Thank you very much, Jose Antonio. As you have heard, this workshop is promoted by Senelec, which every time sets up a new working group specifically for organizing it. This time is working group 15-8, which I am the convener of. But we have the honor to have here the secretary of the complete technical committee, 9X, the committee for railway application, Mr. Denis Milianico. Please have your speech.
Thank you, Paolo. So, ladies and gentlemen, so dear colleagues and distinguished guests, well, it's a really great pleasure to as TC9X officer to welcome you to this conference, where we gather to explore the future of railways through innovation, collaboration, and vision. So as engineers, a researcher, and a standard maker, we stand at the crossroad of transformation of the railway sector, driven by digitalization, sustainability, and resilience. In a few words, the TC9X gather around 1,000 experts who are working within 46 working groups. We are currently in our catalog around 150 standards related to electrical and electrotechnical topics. So during this day, we'll have the vision for the railway of the future. It includes key drivers such as digitalization, climate adaptation, energy management. So the climate evolution and the need for resilience with the preparation of the EN 50125, which is a standard dedicated to climate parameters. This standard will be available next year, and it will have for sure impact on the different products that we are developing, all of us. As digital systems proliferate, so do the risks. And it's a challenge to maintain together the safety and to ensure the cybersecurity. So a second driver is the cybersecurity. So TC9X provided in the past the TS5701. So we have one of the leaders of the group here in the room. So I guess you will be able to exchange with him. This standard was the basis of a future international standard, an IEC 63452. And this future standard will most probably be adopted as an EN IEC standard. I hope that the working group who is in charge of that in Europe will foster this adoption. So several presentations show the impact of this new standard, so cybersecurity standard, on railway products and development process. Another driver is energy management. So sustainable railway means a proper management of energy. And for that, we have a series, the EN 50463. So we have also the convener of the working group here with us. So Bart is with us. Thank you to be here. So for energy metering. So the panel will showcase how automation and smart energy strategies are reshaping railway operations across Europe, optimizing not only energy but also human resources through remote driving. And for this topic, so we have a dedicated group created within the TC9X and within a group called the digitalization, which will deal with remote control of train and the definition of functions related to autonomous driving. So what an exciting working group that are welcoming any of you. Together, all the topics addressed during this event reflect the dynamic and multidisciplinary nature of the railway industry. They also highlight the importance of collaboration to build a railway system that is not only fit for the future, but actively shaping it. So let us embrace this opportunity to learn, to share, to innovate. And thank you for being part of this journey. And a big thanks in particular to Paolo Umiliaki and the team for preparing this event. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Denis. And now, last but not least, we have the welcome from Maria Eugenia Diaz. Sorry for my Italian pronunciation. Who is representing the Spanish National Standardization Body. Please, Maria Eugenia.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to this welcome in this workshop. Thank you, José Antonio, for taking me into account to have me here. I'm the representative of the National Standardization Body, that is UNE in Spain, but I work in CERCOVE. CERCOVE is the National Association of Manufacturers of Capital Goods. I'm really happy to can share with you which is Cercove. We was born in 1964, and we integrate companies that are dedicated to the design, engineering, recycling, assembly, installation, and recycling of capital goods. UNE, which formerly was AENOR, the Spanish standardization body, was born for the need of this kind of associations to have this standardization body when we came to the European Union. And that's why some of the national bodies are, the secretariat is held from the associations. We represent the capital goods sector. We try to have an appropriate regulatory framework for our sector. We collaborate closely with different partners like Orgalim in Europe or Confemetal here in Spain. Also, we are a part of UNE, and we foster the R&D into our companies. And we held the secretariat of the National Committee 203, Subcommittee 9X, that is the mirror committee of the TC 9X in IAC, and also the Senelec committee. And we work as you work at the European or international level. We have companies, we have universities, we have experts that collaborate and have a really interesting point of view to have a national point of view or national comments to the documents. And we are working in close collaboration with UNE. Then the secretariat, they have the technical part in UNE and more administrative part in Cercove. That's all from my side. I really want to have a great time in Madrid, enjoy the meeting, enjoy Madrid, and the Universidad de Comillas also for organizing all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria Eugenia. This is all for the welcome panel. Now we move to the panel 1, where we will have a more strategic introduction of the topic of this workshop for this edition. So thank you all the panelists for the moment, and I ask the keynote speakers to come to the desk. So in the meantime, I take the opportunity to thank all those who contributed to organizing and supporting this workshop, which, as usual, is self-funded through sponsorship. And I thank our sponsors, Hitachi, Moxa, Cegelec, Copernicov, the DIA Association, Silus, Expleo, and Bureau Veritas. And I remind, as you can see in the leaflet, that we are also supported by the Spanish Foundation for Railways and the Spanish Technology Platform for Railways, for Railway Technologies, and finally from the Institute for National Research in Metrology from Italy. And we thank also the media partner, Dinova, who was responsible for the website and the preparation of the graphics for this event. So now we move to panel 1. We have 6 keynote speakers. 3 of them are here at the desk, but there are 3 online. I hope they are ready. We have Fidel Santiago, Policy Officer of the European Commission in the Directorate General for Mobility.
Hello, good morning. Buenos días. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you, Fidel. Then we have also here Adriano Scapati and Nicola Furio from Europe's Rail, Marina Aguado from the European Railway Agency, and again online we have Bardo Schettini Gherardini, the Director Operations of EIM. Are you
Yes,
online?
I'm here.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. And the Secretary General of AERL, Carol Kuhn. Carol, maybe is not yet here. She is not here, but okay, okay. So, but we have time for her to connect. Then I make a very short introduction about this panel. If we can show my short presentation, please. Jose Antonio, can you start the presentation? My presentation for panel one.
Okay, sorry. Because Carol, I think Carol is using the wrong link. You must use the moderator link. It's the first link in the email that you have received. Oh.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Because it's in the
Otherwise, she can't speak. Yes.
she can,
Okay.
she can speak. Because it's the wrong list. Wrong list. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Good. So I think I can quickly move. So I already said I am the convener of the working group which organized this workshop, and I take the opportunity to thank all the members of this working group. Many of them are here, and their contribution was really essential for the successful organization of this event. So this panel is focused on the main subject of the workshop for this edition. Every edition has a different main topic, and for this edition we chose this one, a systemic vision for the railways of the future. So the railway system exists since 200 years. You know, this year we celebrate 200 years from the first opening of a railway line in the world, which was in England on the 26th of September of 1825. So just a few days more than 200 years. Now we are in 2025, and the progress of the railway system has been incredible. We have completely new and very advanced technologies running the railway system today. And a constant evolution is in progress also, and I think mainly for the contribution of ICT, the information and communication technologies, which are now very pervasive in all systems, including the railway system. We have new technologies, just to mention, for example, FRMCS, the upcoming new communication system which will replace the GSMR, the DAC, the Digital Automatic Coupler for freight wagons, automatic train operation, where trains are going more and more in the direction of being autonomous, driving themselves, rail ontology, and much more. But these new technologies also put in place new challenges. We have to deal with new problems like cybersecurity, energy management, because the railway needs to be sustainable, data protection, and so on. And the constant evolution of the railway system maybe sometimes is facing a breakthrough change. So the question is what we will try to give a first answer today. Is a system breakthrough needed? And so this panel one has been organized around this question, and we ask the panelists to answer a few questions about which is their view of the current railway system, where are the weak points of it, what the organization they represent is doing to address such weak points and which can be the expected impact, and which is the vision they have about the railway system of the future. So, as I already mentioned, we have these 6 keynote speakers, some online and some here. And just not to waste any time, because we are very anxious to hear from them, I give the word to the first keynote speaker, Mr. Fidel Santiago from the European Commission. So,
thank you so much. Again, hello, good morning. Just a practical question. What do we do about the slides? Should I present for here? Will you put them on the screen for me? And while that happens, okay, that seems to be that you may share for me. I hope you're not talking because I cannot hear anything.
You must use the big button in the bottom. Fidel?
Yes?
Yes.
See?
To share your presentation, you must use the pink button.
Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. I do it then.
Okay.
Here. Okay, I should be sharing. Is that the case?
Yes, perfect.
And you can even see full screen.
Yes.
Okay, good. So there you go. For those of you who do not know me, I work in the European Commission. I've been there for quite some time. And for the last couple of years, I've been working on the rail sector, on the rail team in the European Commission, although I have a strong background on digital matters. And you will see that indeed, and I think that is pertinent, when we are talking about systemic views on the rail sector and systemic views of the future rail sector, that digital is going to have a very important role to play. What I'm bringing during my presentation is going to be mainly some of the things that we are cooking in the European Commission, or actually they are already out there, and that in our view will have a huge impact on our sector. The first one that I would like to mention is the telematics TSI. Many of you may have been involved in this saga. We have been working on reviewing both the technical specification for interoperability regarding the exchange of information on passengers information or for passengers, and also the exchange of information regarding to freight. Those are the technical specifications for interoperability, the legislation we have today in place, TAF TSI, and we wanted to work on that to improve what we have today. First of all, consolidating both digital tests into just one, dealing with telematics, while at the same time considering some other elements that we found wanting in the current proposal. So I'll say that the main elements on telematics TSI on the one hand is going to be certain evolution on TAF with digital capacity and digital traffic management, and at the same, and also digital management of freight wagons. And because here, of course, we are talking all the time about the single European railway area, it is important to have harmonization, and there's no better way to get that than to put this framework under data governance and the current change control management system that the agency has. So that we want to deal with any change in the TSI or associated documents, we can involve everybody and apply changes in the more mature way. Besides that, our telematics proposal also have a big aspect around ticketing, so that we can also foster a healthy ecosystem around ticketing. If not taking down the cost of rail, at least to make it more accessible to the passengers. The first steps are being taken right now, where we are working very much with Science and Elec, precisely with TC27A Working Group 3, deliverables, everything about transmodal and the like. And as I said, we're working right now on this proposal, although we are planning to finish it with the recommendation in 2028. By that time, we hope that we can fully integrate the standardization ecosystem in digital ticketing around telematics. Other important element we are working on right now is the digitalization of operational communication, because indeed digitalization is getting to everywhere in railways, and operational communication is something that is being standardized, and we want to put everything together, getting digitalization into what today is a lot of oral communication or paper-based communication. So our idea of digitalization of operational communications includes the digitalization of driver signal communication, including the harmonization of system for the transmission of European instructions So not only having a structured and harmonized open instructions, but also the way to communicate them. Not only to foster the operational interoperability. So, for example, drivers confronted with different systems anyway will receive the same information, an understandable one. But there is also this industrial angle where by harmonization, we can also have a modularity, and so we can further open a market to have different providers providing different components of the system. Of course, this will have an impact on the DMI and other cabin tools. We need to see how we will integrate all this operational communication into the cabin with all the different safety and navigability constraints that does imply. We want to go beyond what is normal operation. We also want to see what can we do regarding emergency operation on this driver signal communication, digitally supported. And of course, for this, we introduced a request to the agency that should materialize in a recommendation in due time. So I would say, please follow up, because I think this is going to be a very important exercise, also from the point of view of standardizing communication and communication channels, and it will have, of course, an impact also on standards. And it was already mentioned, this is not something that is coming, this is something that is already among us, but this also legislation not coming from the rail sector, but having a big impact on the rail sector. And not only because the rail sector is a very important sector, is under the frame of critical entities, it's also going to be considered an essential entity. It's very clear that we need rail to work. But at the same time, as we were mentioning, we are not talking about rail as it was at the beginning of the 19th century. We're talking about a completely different beast now. Some time ago, there was this idea, this metaphor to consider a car like a computer with wheels. It may come the time where we may consider that also a train is kind of a computer with steel wheels and with wagons and coaches and whatnot. And so that's why cybersecurity is so important for rail nowadays, and it's going to become more and more and more important as everything around rail traffic is digitalized. In case you want to know, the Resilience Act is about rules for placing on the market of products. In that sense, we already know this kind of framework. This is based on the new legislative framework, which is indeed the baseline and the framework for any placing on the market of products, including railway products. And if you should be aware that it is also codified in the Interoperability Directive. So we also have placing on the market. This is going to be mostly of vehicle, but we also have placing on the market somehow of infrastructure, and anything there is covered by the new legislative framework. As we have in our Interoperability Directive, there are essential requirements that should cover the whole life cycle of those products in the scope of the Resilience Act. Those are going to be called products with digital elements, and indeed in the rail we're going to have plenty of that. And then the Resilience Act is going to put obligations on manufacturers. Those probably we are the most aware of. But of course, manufacturers are not the only entity that are going to be putting new products on the market, and so distributors are importers that are affected too. I mean, of course, we need to have a level playing field for our industry, while at the same time we need to guarantee that all products that are in the union, they are as cyber secure as possible. As well, you may be following up. There is the system request going on around having harmonized standards, the European harmonized standards, supporting the Student Resilience Act. So far, what we have there are resultant standards, and the sector is also working on a vertical one, so that we can also approach the Sub-Resilience one, the Student Resilience Act, sorry, in the same way we are dealing with many other essential requirements in rail. Another piece of European legislation that is going to have a big impact on rail, even if not coming from the rail sector, is the Data Act. Here, what we try to cover is better access to Internet of Things data, tackle contractual unfairness in business-to-business data sharing, and no need to say that the rail sector is a very important, business-to-business data, business-business relationships are very important in the railway sector. If we think about manufacturers, IM, and rail undertakings, we see that we have a lot of data going on there, and the Data Act is going to clarify what is the minimum elements and maximum elements we can have in our contracts, so that we address any kind of contractual unfairness and balance in power. There are also the possibility for public administrations to access business data, even in those situations where that business data was not there available before, and if there are crises or it is impossible to get that business data. That is going to help a lot business administrations, and there I have to say is going to be extremely helpful for the Commission, so that finally we are going to be able to get information that was very complicated or impossible to get before. And so that information will also make us, help us to make even better tailor-made information, even better decisions based on more accurate information. And last but not least, the Data Act will also facilitate data flows through standards and interoperability, in particular for data spaces. Here, the relevant part is that, again, there's an standardization request already going on. And work is being done on the standardization part, so that the exchange of data, this exchange that I was mentioning above, is interoperable. And so we have common interfaces, and we can deal with black boxes. And then again, we're going to be in the same situation as before. Every time we think about interoperability, the facilitation and the cost saving in exchanging information, and at the same time, there's this Industrial Act that interoperability and standards are going to foster having a healthier ecosystem by adding new entrants and new players that they may come from other sectors. And the last one I will be mentioning today is the AI Act. Of course, all the legislation I was mentioning is about the internal market, the single European market, how to make it work better. In this case, by providing a uniform legal framework for artificial intelligence and uniform legal framework dealing with the development of new AI systems and services, but then again, also a uniform framework for placing on the market, putting into service and use. So this is something that I already mentioned. This is based on the new legislative framework. And there again, we're going to find the whole idea of products, placing on the market, essential requirements, harmonized standards, etc. All this must happen, of course, taking care of union values, and we must foster the uptake in human-centric and trustworthy AI. And then again, coming back to our union values and to is the supporting and the whole idea about the new legislative framework is that any new product that we put in the market incorporating AI components must provide for a high level of protection of health and safety of people, anyway, fundamental rights. This will have a clear impact in rail when we are considering AI systems. Maybe we have back-end AI systems when we are thinking about planning or scheduling But we can also not forget that we are working on having a system when we are thinking about automated train operations. But even behind that, automated shunting, every time the train is moving along, we need to take care of safety, but also of the people involved. Also, we need to take care of those assets. And so the AI Act will provide some essential requirements, and we will deal with the way we should be tackling that. Thank you so much. That is all what I wanted to share with you this morning. Now, that said, I don't know, I guess that we will all go through the slides, and maybe later we address your questions. Paolo, you will tell me how you want us to deal with that. Thanks.
Thank you, Fidel. I ask you, can you stay with us still some time, or are you in a hurry?
Yeah, I will stay until the end of the panel, thanks.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So we will address probably some question to you later, but now we go on with the second panelist, Mr. Adriano Scapati from UIC, that you well know is the Worldwide Association of Railways. So, Adriano.
Thank you, Paolo. Thank you. Morning, Adriano Scapati. This is a baptism of fire, as our Director General, Mr. Damen, told to me yesterday, because I started this new role as a rail system department director at the 1st of September, and so it's very hard because my department was in the interim position, and so in this moment I am managing in particular the handover for the external relationship. You can imagine the regions and all the things. I come from Ferrovie dello Stato, just some word about me, and I started very in the past, in the 1994, a long time ago, about 50 years ago, in the aerospace and in the military side with the Pisa University and a collaboration with Alenia Space in Torino. After I accepted a very important challenge in Italy, because I accepted to move from Alenia Space to Alstom, before it was Fiat Ferroviaria, to manage the prototype of the first prototype of ATR 500 in high speed, and so I managed from the beginning, 1995, all the activity on the high speed train in Italy, on the high speed system, not high speed train. And so, for example, the train, but the depot, the high speed depot in Milan, before, after in Naples, and so the test and the commissioning activity, and so the maintenance, all of the organization to start the high speed in Italy. My last experience is completely connected to the previous presentation, because I worked the last my 5 years in UK, in London, in a big collaboration between Ferrovie dello Stato, Trenitalia, and the First Group in Avanti West Coast, in particular in the team with High Speed 2 and the department. I was a rolling stock and depot director for 5 years, and so I managed all the reviews. A long time of the review of the high-speed specification and the document for the bid to buy the new high-speed train, and so with the ATO system, RTMS, etc., is the innovation, because we have to manage in the next years. And so I managed all the procurement process with HS2, and after the first 2 phases of the design of the new train, we both, with the Hitachi Alstom 54 units for the West Coast Main Line in UK. And so this was a very, very big experience that permitted me to come to the UEC, because I managed a lot of international team, and in particular a lot of collaboration with the Asia, in particular with the China, etc., for the innovation on the rail. This is about me. There are my contacts, direct contact, and so we can manage directly everything, some question, some info, some contact, because in my role now I manage I am the coordinator of the Rail System Forum, and there are in this big tables, international tables, there are important branch. One is the rolling stock, the other one is the infrastructure, the asset management, the energy, etc., etc. And so I think this is a good opportunity to me in person, but for the EC, it's a good opportunity to stay with you in this workshop. Thanks for the organization and for the ask us the participation. Just, I want to anticipate you very quickly because we have some minutes, and so it's not possible to go in everything about the WC. I want to anticipate you some highlights from the final draft of the work program of WC 2026-2028, that there is some important highlights to take some view about our 3 years forward. And so the big objective that we have as we see is to encourage the allocation of the fund. For example, now in Italy we managed a lot of money from the Europe Sound, and particularly in the RTMS, and we collaborate with a lot with the members, in particular the European members on this, to improve important things that we know: the intermodality, the infrastructure, the new rolling stock, in particular new system on the rolling stock, in particular in the interface between the rolling stock and the infrastructure, and so in particular all the things connects to the sustainability, and in particular to the decarbonization of the operation. And in particular, we are working, and my first objective in the rolling stock and the rail system department is to consolidate and to improve our process, the transition process for the operational standardization and ERS, and we have a program from 2025 to 2029 that we communicate to the world, and so for this is a first important objective that we have in IVC. And so in particular, two other important points is that we play an important role to facilitate the members and the railway with the new technologies. For example, there are some examples connected to the digitalization, and for example, the system of RMCS that we speak, I think, in the afternoon or tomorrow, and so we managed by the Jean-Michel Evangelo, director in our RVC, and so we collaborate with a lot of important company and operator on this. So, for example, for the ticketing, and another important point that we want to open from the 2026 is the training courses as an academy, training course linked to the strategic area that we want to manage and to support the member, in particular the different regions that we have, because the interface that we have between UEC and Europe are better, completely different from the interface that we have in different tables, for example, in Asia, for example, in the North America and in Africa. And so another important point is that we want to expand, to consolidate our presence in the world, in particular in the two different continents and two different countries. And one is in Asia, one is in North America in the next years. To work on my side in our department, I think connected to the work plan that I before shared with you some highlights, is to continue and to improve, in particular to go speedily in the program 26-29 on the standardization, because we have to manage all the migration of the IRS by the 2029, and there are a very, very strong work because we need a lot of time and we need a lot of experts from the members from other companies that work with us not to manage this complex work. And so this is a big priority for the rail system department. We have to continue to improve the relationship, in particular the interface between the standardization body in the world, in particular in Europe, with the HERA, in particular with the Senelec, in particular with the ISO. And after another important thing, the last, after I leave the word to the colleagues, is that I understand when I come to the WC the last month, that there is not some problem, but some necessity to revive the rolling stock area, because a lot of members, a lot of company operators, etc., are losing the direct connection with the technical matters for the rolling stock, because we adopted in Europe in particular, we adopted as operator, I speak for Trenitalia, for example, that I work for a long time in the operation side and new technologies. We leave completely the full service, the rolling stock to the big manufacturer, and so we have maybe to manage and to involve other actors to find and to share transversal project for the rolling stock, in particular in the area that we can involve the infrastructure too, and so the interface between the rolling stock and the infrastructure. For example, before I just heard this, the pantograph interconnection for the noise, because, for example, in UK we have this problem for the noise up to 250 kilometers per hour, because the train passes through the city, and so this is another important thing that we want to work collaboratively, because it's a common additional problem. And so this is for, and we have, this is a very good work we managed until now, and I think in the future, in the infrastructure, asset management, energy side. But we have to, for this too, to find some transversal project, not work only on the specific project, but you have to work, for example, for some digitalization project that can involve a lot of members, not just a small number as now. Okay, this is the main highlights that we want to manage in the next years, and so now we have to study, and you have to deep, and you have to improve the collaboration with the members, in particular for DVC, and so I have to start to know better the people directly, and to manage with all these steps. No, until now, in the next 2 or 3 years. Thank you. I'm here for the question. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adriano, for this very interesting survey on USA activities. Now we move to Nicola Furio. Yes, who is the head of Europe's Rail Innovation Pillar. Please, Nicola.
Thank you, Paolo. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here today at this event. I would like to thank, of course, Paolo, but also Senelec and the University of Comillas for having organized this event and having invited Europe's Rail to explain what we are doing. I also like the title of the panel, because you have the system vision and the future of highways. I will explain you why, but just to highlight that Europe's Rail, we are working on the future of the highways with research innovation projects, but also this system approach, this systemic vision, it's embedded in our program. I will explain you how, but just would like to highlight that, let's say, the panel title for me is very relevant for what Europe's Rail is doing. Few words on me, and sorry, Paolo, I have not used the templates that you sent for the presentation, but a few words on me. So I worked in the rail sector since 17 years now. I started in an engineering company, so to design rail projects, and next I moved to Brussels, where I represented the European rail supply industry, so the manufacturers, during many years. And I moved 6 months ago to Europe's Rail in this new position of Head of Innovation Pillar. I'm a rail enthusiastic, so I like the railway sector. I mean, as you have seen, I have never deviated from this sector because I think there are many challenges for the rail sector that we need to achieve all together. And also, I think we can all acknowledge that the benefits of the rail sector for climate change, for sustainability, is very important for the society. So that's why I'm happy to contribute to the development of the rail sector to make sure that rail will play a key role for the evolution of transport in Europe in the future. So now, regarding Europe's rail, the vision of Europe's rail. So if I give you the exact title, Europe's Rail is what we call a joint undertaking. Sometimes it's not very clear what it means, so I prefer to use a simple explanation. This is a public-private partnership for research and innovation. So it's both the public, represented by the European Union, and the private sector by many members, I will come back on this later, who are working together to achieve a vision. The vision is to support the implementation of the single European railway area. So that's why we are collaborating a lot with ERA, the European Railway Agency, European Union Agency for Railways. And also, of course, we are working with the Commission and mainly with DG Move. Regarding the vision, the aim of Europe's Rail with the RNA program that we are implementing is to increase the capacity for rail, to get a rail system which is much more flexible, to also provide to the customers more solutions, to reinforce interoperability. So I think you all know that the rail system at European level is very fragmented. So this is the target of the Commission with the support of ERA to get this full interoperable rail network in Europe. And via research innovation is also what we are trying to contribute to. Multimodality, so rail has to play a big part in the multimodality scheme for transport, and via RNI we would like to support this goal. Sustainability, I think I don't have to repeat, let's say the added value of rail transportation for climate change. Reliability, so I think we are all, let's say, using train during our travels in Europe. As a customer, we all expect to get reliable services. So with research innovation, with new solutions, new technologies, how to make this, how to improve reliability and make sure that at the end we can catch, as the rail sector, more passengers. And also this is relevant for the freight sector to also get more freight on rail. Competitivity, so two aspects. Competitivity of the rail's transport mode, rail mode of transport, so vis-à-vis other mode of transport. But also the second aspect, this is the competitiveness of the rail supply industry. So in our partnership, we have big players, big manufacturers, which are only, let's say, their market is not only Europe, it's the world. So also to support the competitiveness of those stakeholders. And inclusiveness, of course, to make sure that we are all the rail stakeholders, so being public sector, railway operators, infrastructure managers, suppliers, universities, research centers, and all the others also involved in this process to contribute to Europe's rail. So on this slide, just to highlight the members of Europe's Rail. So those are the members of Europe's Rail, so meaning the members who are financing the Europe's Rail activities. But behind this, we have many projects, and in the project, we have much more stakeholders involved. As I said, we have other companies who are involved. We have also universities, research centers, SMEs, also some startups. So it's the ecosystem that we are representing is quite large. This slide is key for me, especially for the systemic vision. It's just to explain to you how we have shaped our RNI program in Europe's Rail. So we have three pillars. So we have the first one is the innovation pillar. So by name, this pillar is addressing the RNI activities, RNI topics. So we are focusing on a list of priorities for RNI, what we are calling the flagship areas. So you have the list on the slide. But this is really with Europe's Rail to design some projects that will focus on those priorities that we do consider are key for the future of railways. The second key pillar, this is the system pillar. So this pillar, with his name, is addressing the system approach, because what we want to achieve is to make sure that any new innovation which is developed can be integrated in the rail system, but in an harmonized way. So this system pillar, the main aim is to develop the system architecture of rail, because as I said, you all know that the rail system in Europe is very fragmented, so national level, but also fragmented because you have different subsystems. In the subsystem, you have sub-subsystems. So to make sure that if you do a change somewhere, it will not an impact on the other subsystem or system. So it's very important to define a system architecture, to define also the interfaces between the different systems. And this is one of the main objectives of the system pillar. And the system pillar is a pillar involving the sector. So meaning that all the sector is represented, plus the agency. So meaning it's really a sectorial approach. For the innovation pillar, it's a system of calls. So we are publishing some calls, and next you have some, let's say, organization, consortia will apply to our call. So next, the projects are implemented by consortia, but the system pillar is really a sector approach. And the last one, but which is also very important, this is the deployment. Because when we innovate, so you can have the perfect innovation, you can make sure this will, let's say, fit your system approach. You have considered in different interfaces. But next, the key question is to implement your innovation, to deploy your solutions. And for this, you need to address some issues well in advance to make sure that you can plan your deployment activities in a harmonized way at European level. So to give you some example of topics, we have the migration topics, because not all the networks in Europe are at the same level of implementation of solutions. So this migration aspect has to be anticipated. We need to have a migration at European level, because if we want to, let's say, support this interoperability need for the rail system, this should be done at European level. And also beyond this question, you have the question of financing. So the rail sector is relying on the mainly public financing, and you all know that it's more and more difficult to get access to public financing, being EU or national public financing. So this is important to keep this in mind and to anticipate this, to see what could be the, let's say, depending on the priorities for deployment, how we should address this financing issue. On this slide, I just want to highlight, so this is more linked to the innovation pillar, but in the GU we have many projects, but we have 6 big projects, what we are calling the flagship projects, that have started 2 years ago. And the 6 projects, flagship projects, are those ones. So the first one, this is what the flagship project 1, Motional project, which is focusing on traffic management and capacity management. So how via innovation, again, we can improve traffic management in Europe, capacity management in Europe. But also in this project, there is another part, which is what we call the transversal activities, in which we have one key topic, which is the European Federated Data Space. So I think you all know that with digitalization, we have more and more data. The question is how to share the data, how to make sure the data can be used in a similar way by different stakeholders. So we need to work on some processes, on some methodology to make sure that this will happen. So ERA also is involved, because ERA has developed their own ontology for data. And this is also used in this project to try to build up via, again, this project, this European Federated Data Space approach, which is quite challenging, but I think is needed for the rail sector in the future. The second one is the flagship project 2, R2DATO. Sorry for the acronyms of the name of the project. Sometimes not so easy. But R2DATO, to give you an highlight, is a project focusing mainly on the evolution of signaling systems. So behind this, you have FRMCS. You have remote driving, ATO. You have also FRMCS. So it's really the signaling part of the rail sector. The flagship project 3, this is the IAM4Rail project. This project is focusing on the asset management, so both for infrastructure and rolling stock. So how to, let's say, improve the asset management, meaning how to monitor the assets. So again, with some solutions that will, let's say, need the use of data. And next, how to improve the maintenance activities. So for the rolling stock and the infrastructure. Because this is key, because if you optimize your maintenance activities, in principle, you should be able to increase the capacity of your lines. And also in this project, we have other aspects like the robotics, which are part of it, because as you all know, there will be a shortage of workforce in the rail sector, so much more difficult to attract people to work for maintenance activities. So we're also investigating how with robotics we could try to maybe replace some manual tasks with some robots. And also in this flagship project we have the drones, so for the monitoring of the assets. The next one is the flagship project 4, the Rail for Us project. So this one is focusing on energy efficiency. So we have the battery trains, the fuel cell trains, but also other topics like reduction of noise and vibration, or some specific topics on the stations, modularity of stations, or also on HVAC systems, so to have also a better air quality in the air. This was linked also to the, unfortunately, to the COVID that we had a few years ago, so to make sure that the air quality in the train is improving. The flagship project 5, the Transformer project, so this one, if you should keep with one word, to define one word, this is the freight. And this is the one that will cover the DAC, the digital automatic coupling, which is a key game changer for the rail sector, but again, requiring a lot of efforts to develop the solution, to test the solutions, and to make sure the solution can be delivered and implemented in the future to improve the rail freight. But also in this project, we have another part which is dealing on what we call seamless freight transport. So it's more linked to cross-border freight issues, via improving the timetabling, or via also digital solution if you have to exchange some documents with the regulators at national level. And the last one, the FP6 future project. So this one is a bit different from the others, because the main objective of this project is to focus on the regional lines. So many regional lines are closing in Europe, and the objective is to try to keep those regional lines with some new innovations to improve, again, the operation of the regional lines, but in a cost-efficient way. So many want to make sure that innovation will be developed, can be demonstrated, that it will be cost-efficient, and it can be easily implemented on those lines. So it's not, this flagship project is not starting from scratch, meaning it's trying to reuse some technologies existing or under development and try to adapt them to implement them on regional lines. So this was the innovation pillar. Now the system pillar, as I said, this is the one focusing on the system approach. And the main objective is to try to link the R&I activities with the future evolution of regulations or standardization activities. So the main focus of the system pillar is on the signaling subsystem to reinforce the interoperability aspect, also to define the different interfaces, to work on some specification for modularity of the rail signaling system. And this is what the system pillar is trying to do. In the system pillar, it's not organized by project. We have many groups, working groups, or working on different topics. For example, some of them are perfectly, let's say, linked to the topics on the agenda for the today's event. But we have, of course, the traffic, CS, the cyber security is one of them. So we'll not go one by one, but just want to highlight that the main objective is to try to get this system approach, so to bring the sector, to discuss about the needs, the vision, next to try to implement in a system architecture at different levels, and to define next what needs to be standardized in terms of interfaces. So this is the contribution of the system pillar. To do this, there was at the very beginning of the system pillar a discussion on the common business objective, because you can design any system that you want. What is important as a starting point is to make sure that the sector has defined their common business objective. So At the very beginning, there was discussion between so rail operators, store managers, and rail manufacturers to define the common business objectives that would be used later on to design the system architecture and also used to design the different solutions that will be delivered by the innovation pillar. So next, in the middle, when you have defined your common business objectives, you have the target system. This is what I said before, to try to define this system architecture. So we are focusing a lot on the signaling part because we don't have an unlimited budget, so we have also to prioritize. But this is part of the target system. And next, yes, to define all the interfaces, because as I said, the rail system is made of many subsystems. In each subsystem, you have many other subsystems. So to define the interfaces in a proper way to make sure that if you change something again, this will not have an impact on other parts of the system. The STIP, so again an acronym. The STIP means standards and TSI. Standards and TSIs. I missed the high, so sorry for this. No, standards and TSI integrated plans. So meaning the STIP is really a key document. It's a document from Europe side delivered by the system pillar. That again aims at identifying all the topics coming from the innovation pillar that will contribute to the evolution of regulations, so TSIs, or standardizations. I mean, you have topics coming from the innovation pillar, but also from the system pillar. So the main target of the STIP is a quite dense document. I don't know if you have looked at it, but it's a big document, a very big Excel file. So if you like Excel file, you can have a look at it. But it's, let's say you have all the list of topics with for each a channel which is identified. So meaning that if we consider this output will be useful for an update of the TSI, will be useful for a standard, or will be useful for just a system pillar document, a document that next the sector can use. And this, we have done it for all the technical topics. So we have more than 200 topics, but also it gives an overview on the timeline. So when we do consider that, let's say, the input will be ready to be transferred to a TSI or to a standard. It's a key tool because, I mean, first of all, it was a challenge to develop the tool, but it's a key tool because it allows us to predict, to anticipate, and also to organize ourselves. So that's why we are also contributing a lot with the agency, because ERA is responsible of the update of the TSIs when the Commission is giving the mandate to the agency. So we need also to make sure that the plans are aligned, and this is challenging, as you can imagine.
Pipeline.
Yes, pipeline. Yeah. And next, we're also with standardization organizations, so mainly EU standardization bodies like Sensenelec, to discuss with them to see how we can contribute to the activities and to make sure there are some priorities, that the priorities that will be reflected on the agenda of the working groups in Sensenelec. The last one is the deployment group. So as I said, this one is more to focus on the next steps for deployment. So again, bring together the sector to have a plan for the future. And what we have started to do is that we have two groups in place. The first one is on the DAC, what we call the Open DAC Delivery Program, which really tries to develop the plan for the migration to DAC at European level. And the second one is the deployment group on FRMCS, because FRMCS is a key topic. You all know that GSMR solution will be obsolete in the future, so there's a need to replace it by the next generation of telecommunication for rail, so FRMCS. And for this, this has to be planned in advance because it should be done with an European approach. Because if you have some trains who are crossing borders and the system are not the same, you increase the complexity and for the operators. And that's what needs to be planned in advance. So we have set up this FRMCS deployment group, and we are contributing to the sector to identify the migration legal aspect and so financial aspect linked to this FRMCS deployment in the future. Last part of the presentation, I just want to inform you that Europe-SRED will publish a call. So this is for the innovation pillar, for research innovation projects. This will be an important call that will be published on the 8th of October. We will have 10 topics in the call, and 6 topics will be the follow-up of the flagship project. You know, the big project I mentioned before, So this was the first wave. There will be a second wave, and this call is to prepare the second wave of the flagship projects. We have also other topics linked to the Industry 5.0, climate finance, PhDs, and also to support to FRMCS. But my main message to you, if you have an interest in RNI activities, if you want to contribute to Europe's rail, have a look at the call, see if it could be relevant for you, and next try to find the good partners to submit a proposal to Europe's rail. So just to let you know also that next week, on the 10th of October, we are organizing an info day session where we'll explain more into details the call and provide more explanation on the call topics. And of course, you are free to register if you want. It will be an online event, so feel free to register if you have an interest on RNI activities. And this is the QR code for you to get access to the info day registration page. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. Of course, as you see, some presentations are a little bit wide, but it is useful because they embed some answers to the questions I put in the beginning. But now we go on with the next keynote speaker, Ms. Marina Aguado, who is representing the European Union Agency for Railways. Please, Marina.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, much better. My background is on telecommunications. I've been working for around 10 years in the railway domain in a control center of a company, of a railway operator. And then back to the university, I got my PhD on deploying ERTMS on using a 4G technology. Imagine 4G when now we are about to go to 6G generation. And I look around, and now in the agency I'm working with data. I look around now and I see that more and more are is not only interoperable as per electrical signaling or railway lines, is also the importance on the data interoperability. And I think that here the profile of the audience is probably telco, IT, or a combination of it. And I'm going to make a joke that probably only Spaniards can understand. I came here to speak about my book, Paolo. My book today is the Era Ontology. I worked with Paolo long time ago in a Shift2Rail project when they were starting, and Marion Berbino as well. It was called Integrail. Integrail project was about integrating different data or a middleware to combine the different pieces of information coming from the different information systems in the railway and using semantic technology. And now we are long time, many years have passed, and I would like that our colleagues there are going to talk about how it has been implemented, this approach in the agency, but also how this approach is impacting. And I think that we are lucky that we have built a framework of collaboration with UIC, with RayML, and with System Pillar. All of us are, and the ontology is helping us to come together to use the same terms, the same definitions, and bringing data together. And this afternoon I will explain the motivation, because every time that there is lack of interoperability, specific data transformation are needed. And one example that triggered our development in the agency was ProRail, the Dutch IM, speaking that 70% of the deployment of ERTMS was spent in data transformation from the different maps up to the different system manufacturers of system of signaling. So, and this also generates vendor lock-in. So at the end, if you have paid 60% of your project to transform into a proprietary data format, you will not go out of this. So we started in this way and using also as public institution as much as open standard as possible using web semantic. And we are here also lucky to have Oscar Corcho here, that is one of the most experts in semantics in the domain and comes from Madrid. So if you want to speak to him after all our presentations, well, lucky you. And I would like also to emphasize that what started in 2021 by grabbing two different registers together in the agency, now we are bringing the rest of the data sets in the agency together, but at the same time we are publishing openly using GitHub, GitLab, and all the tools that are used in the semantic web and in the normal development to make it transparent, accessible to everyone. And why is linked this? I was surprised no one spoke yet about AI and large language models, so I will try to explain this afternoon also in the talk why when you speak and when you use knowledge graphs, semantic technologies, you pave the way to facilitate automation. You make that the data that is consumed by the large language model is not only machine readable but also meaningful because it has the links. So yeah, I think that we are in a revolution. And at the same time, and thanks for Fidel's presentation, we have instruments today. We have the Data Act, we have the Interoperable Europe Act that is, it will impact us, but it will make us, it will be helpful also because every time that one information system is developed, you have the urgency, the challenge to do it as soon as possible. And what happens that you don't look back, you start modeling your own track in your own way for your own use case, and finally you are not able to share this data unless you use a transformation. And that's what we are aiming here to avoid, to make publicly available the data models so everyone, before starting the new development, and innovation pillar suffers also of this problem because you have the challenge to go fast to meet the expectation time, but at the end you need to reuse models that are standards like RAML or like the ERA ontology and that are publicly available. I'm also happy to share that we are closely working with CCS TMS group, and they have created a branch in our ERA ontology for sharing their data model. And yeah, we have a governance in place where UIC, system pillar, and other actors also are members of the board. And I think that nothing else. If anyone has any question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Marina.
Yes, I forgot a word. I forgot a word. The aim of the agency, once that we have in the process of merging all our data sets and making them interoperable with other data sets like TEN-T, OSM, or whatever. The next step, and I wanted you to have in mind, is a word that they call it digital ready policy making or law as code. But it's not new. I think that for ages we have tried to make the ERTMS formal methods, blah, blah, blah. Now we are trying to gradually also doing the TSI, all the nouns become classes, all the verbs become properties. Why? Because the techniques are already mature to express all those constraints in shackle rules and to be machine readable. And for example, in some agencies, like for example, I think a Swedish agency of taxes, they already publish in code how to calculate the tax you need to pay for, and then you can grab this piece of code and implement in different information systems. And that's what we aim at the end of the process. We have the mandate of the agency, of the Commission, to harmonize all the terms and definitions in the different TSIs and make them part of this big air ontology or rail ontology, of course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina. Also, personal thank you because you remembered this old project, Integrail, which a little bit opened the way for this transformation in the world of railway data exchange and interoperability. Thank you. Now we go on with Bardo Schettini-Gherardini, which is online.
Yes, good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
Can you hear
please.
me? Okay, thank you. Maybe I will share my presentation. It should be this way. Yep. Let's. Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, very good. I would like to, Paolo, first of all, thank you very much to you and to the other co-organizer to have invited me for this workshop, which is also close to my heart anyway, because I've been spent quite some years in Senelec in the past, so I'm very happy to come back in this environment again. I would like to, well, first to introduce myself. I'm Bardo Schettini. I'm the Director of Operation in AM. A very few words about AM for those of you who are not familiar with our association. We are the European Association.
Sorry, Bardo. Can you enlarge your slide to full screen, please?
It is in full screen in my. Let me just. Is it, because in my screen is full screen.
Maybe you have two screens and you share the one where is not full screen.
Okay. Let me just check. Try again. Is it working now?
No, not yet.
No.
We see the small version,
Okay.
the one with all the PowerPoint interface.
Okay, well then I will do maybe. Let me try it this way. Can you see better now?
Slightly. Maybe you remove the menu bar.
Yeah. How do we do it?
Yes.
Full screen mode. Is it better?
Now it's better. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So I have just two slides anyway, so not so many. Just a few words on AM. So IEM is the association representing the infrastructure managers, those who are or call themselves independent from the railway operators, railway undertakings, it's a kind of spin-off, if you want, of the liberalization of the market that has been ongoing since some years already. So it's an association that more or less is a little bit more than 25 years. So a little bit less than 25 years, because it was created in 2002. So within this association, of course, it's a lobbying organization. So what we do is political activities, but as well also technical activities, because IEM is one of the representative bodies that is, let's say, fully recognized by the regulation to work with the agency in the definition of the TSIs. Now, I wanted to show these second slides just as a basis for for my let's say a short discussion about the three questions that you rose at the very beginning, Paolo, concerning the situations of what we do and also the vision for the future. What we see today is, and somehow has already been highlighted by others, but it's very important really to notice that the boundaries between the different areas in research, but not only, are becoming very much blurred. So we are definitely, through digitalization, I mean, all of you are aware that definitely we are shifting from let's say, a reality where silos approach, or technological silos, but also political silos approach, were fine. In a world where actually we have to think about a matrix, where there are lots of dots that needs to put together between vertical issues or vertical technologies, just to remain within this environment, as well as horizontal issues and horizontal problems and technologies. And that, of course, complicates very much the work for all of us at very different level. So when we talk about for instance, Paloma Cucala said at the very beginning that innovation must be done at the level of ecosystem. She's perfectly right, because we all know it. But when we talk about ecosystem, of course, we talk about interfaces, we talk about interoperability, and of course, we talk about standardizations. That is absolutely perfect. However, it's not enough, because all this technical work has to be embedded into a larger, let's say, ecosystem. And there is also one of the weak, if I can go already jump into somehow the weak issues that we see at the wider technology European level, is that the fact that we have a lots of new legislation coming now, or actually there's not coming, that is already actually now already in force. And Fidel mentioned some of them, NIS2, Cyber Resilience Act, we have the TNT also specifications for the corridors. Military mobility issues, there is a new package now, Data Act, Artificial Intelligence Act, all those legislation which are not, some of them are not really meant for the railway sector, but they are having a huge impact for the railway sector. And this goes, of course, not only in terms of regulatory aspect per se, but also in terms of how we apply these technologies in our daily operations. I'm thinking about the Artificial Intelligence Act. Well, Data Act is another one, but even Cyber Resilience Act, for instance, there is a big issues on what we should consider as a component with digital elements, and there, the discussion is very huge with the manufacturers, because can be everything. So when we develop, of course, new technologies with digital aspects, well, we have also to take into account all those aspects that goes very much beyond the pure technical solutions. And this is a big challenge for the sector, a big challenge for all our members, but also for the railway undertakings, and also, it's a challenge, I would say, also for the joint undertaking, by the way, for Europe's rail, and the fact that we have set these, what we call a system pillar, and with the STIP, as Nicolas mentioned, is also, are also all the way through which we try to create a kind of EU governance on all those flow, in order to make sure that we can link the let's say the technical work, link the new technologies applications with the, let's say, business interest, but also with the regulatory aspects. So it's a very, very complicated environment that we are now completely thinking, into it, that we have to, to manage. And the weak point that I see at this stage is that the governance of all those dynamics at EU level is still quite weak. As I said, the system pillars, or also the high-level deployment group that are both within the joint undertaking, are very good examples on how we try to cope with these challenges. But definitely, they're not enough. So this is, I think, is one of the points that we have also to really, all of us, to take into account when developing new technologies, or when also developing standards, or even developing TSIs, because also TSIs are part of these ecosystems. Now, how we could cope with it? Definitely. And I think also at Sensenlec level you are doing it, is to create a collaboration inside the organization, the relevant organization, but also outside the organization, within, let's say, an environment of different organizations. And this, let's say, cross-sectoral cooperation and cross-sectoral or cross-associations or cross-organizations collaboration is absolutely fundamental to be able to touch all the different aspects that we have to deal with. And again, the collaboration between the different organizations under the system pillar is a good example of it, which is very complicated. I can tell you, well, I guess that the colleagues who were also dealing with the joint undertaking know it very well. It's a very, very complicated organizational setting, but it's a good attempt in order to make sure that we can really master this dynamic and in a collaborative experience. Now, clearly, if we want to set a vision, and I will finish with with this third point of with your third questions, actually, is that we have to be able at the different levels to create the necessary synergies and the necessary governance between the infrastructure managers, railway undertakings, the manufacturing companies, and also the research centers, as well as, of course, Sensenlec as a part of this environment. And again, some groups exist, notably also with Sensenlec. The railway sector has also a forum where we discuss, managed within the CCMC. But still, many times these interactions may not be sufficient to make sure that we can cope with the challenges at the right time. Because what is happening as also sometimes that we discover issues at the very end of the process, and that is not good because it's a waste of time. The FRMCS has been mentioned. The FRMCS as one example of the needed collaboration at European level, and I fully, I would say, I fully support this, because indeed it's for the sector is one of the areas where the challenge is going to be very, very important, not only in the specification themselves, but also because FRMCS touches many other areas, notably outside, let's say, the scope of voice communication. When we go into data, we go into exactly what Marina was presenting before. We go into the issues of developing ATO systems and to make them necessary interfaces to make them work within the FRMCS technologies and so on and so forth. So it's really one of the cornerstones that we have to deal with, where it's important that at all levels to keep this this technology in mind, hoping that we can deploy it in a coordinated and timely manner. The last point that I would like also to touch is the people. Or maybe the last before the last actually is the people and the culture. We need to also to develop at all level the culture of change, and we all know that at least in our experience, that there is an increasing shortage of knowledge. And to recruit new experts who can handle the all latest technologies in our sector, it's a challenge. So we need to make sure that we have all the that we can put in place all the necessary actions to attract new talents. There are, USC, the colleagues of USC just mentioned some activities they're doing. There are also other activities at different levels, to create academies, to link with to link with universities, and this is one of the examples. So we have to really create this, let's say, positive environment to attract new talents into our sector. So we are really working on it as well with our members. And the last point is finance. All those changes, all the deployment of all these new technologies will require and is requiring a lot of, let's say, a lot of money. And the budget of the sector is not always, let's say, enough to implement all these new, let's say, deliverables and technologies. So it is absolutely important also to have a vision on which technologies, which deliverables among, for instance, the many that the joint undertaking is developing. The question is, are we able to deploy all of them? Probably not in the next few years. So it will also be important to make sure that when there is an input to develop a new technologies, that this is shared, they say this priority is shared at all level, notably by the management of the different stakeholders, the management of the companies, so that to make sure that we have, let's say, a priority that is shared in terms of putting available the necessary financing to use this let's say, technological deliverable. So this is my last point, and of course, if there are questions, then we would be happy to take them on board.
Thank you very much, Bardo. And now we move to the last keynote speaker, Ms. Carol Kuhn from AERRL. Please, Carol, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for not being with you today in Madrid due to a very busy schedule. I'm not sure, having well understood how I should share my screen. Should I? I will try. No, I will do it without my presentation because I don't understand how I should do it to share my screen. Sorry for that. And thank you for having invited me today to speak about a systemic vision for the railways of the future. Because as early adopters, the lessors think that a strengthened systemic approach of the railways could help to achieve the single European railway area. But let me first introduce you to our association. I am representing the European Rail Rolling Stock Lessors. We are a new association created in 2021. I started in the railway sector in 1992. And we have now 10 leasing companies on board. When I say leasing companies, I'm referring to companies providing operational leasing services. It means that they fund the rolling stock, they manage the asset, and they maintain the rolling stock. We have also on board pure engineering and maintenance firms. So 11 companies on board for the time being. Our purpose is to promote interoperable, sustainable, efficient and safe rail rolling stock for Europe. And we are committed to achieve the single European railway area. We are as well a representative body as EIM. So what you have to know about the leasing companies is that they are at the forefront of the railway sector development by investing in modern and cross-border rolling stock in the EU. They are early adopters of the new technologies. And when I say early adopters, I would like to share with you a few key figures to demonstrate this fact. Last decades, lessors bought between 42 and 45% of newly manufactured locomotives. 26% of the lessors' fleet is electric, and 61% of the lessors' fleet is electric, and 65% of lessors' mainline fleet is cross-border. And finally, and this is also key, lessors today own almost half of the ERTMS locomotives operated in Europe. This is to illustrate the fact that they are nearly pioneers, because only 17% of the whole European locomotive fleet is equipped with the ERTMS. So lessors can really be considered as pioneers or early adopters of new technologies. And in this position, they have a view and maybe an expectation for a more systemic approach or a more systemic management of the railways for a better future. But what is a systemic approach? From my point of view, systemic approach is as well a holistic approach and a relational approach. Holistic approach means that all elements of the systems must be included. New players can step in, and we should also be able to take a step back to see the big picture. For the relational approach, it means that we have to accept the system complexity, understand how it works, to be curious and open to change, and also to focus much more than now to focus on interactions. And if we do so, we will be able to create more creative and more sustainable solutions that improve collaboration between parties. So we think that we really need to strengthen the systemic approach of the railways. If you take a step back to see the big picture, you see weaknesses that become more visible. We have now the preparation of 3 deployment programs for ERTMS, FRMCS, digital automatic coupling. In our view, we should have only one program, one aligned deployment programs for these 3 game-changing technologies. We should also have better transition strategies. I heard the word migration. It's very, indeed, a good first step and a big progress compared to the past. But within the migration strategy, we have to build a real transition strategy, which is not yet the case currently, we think. If we do so, we will improve notably the affordability of the new technologies and helping rail becoming the backbone of the rail transport system. When you take a step back to see the big picture, you see also that most of the time the financial aspects are not considered in the technological discussions. I've heard one time the word business in the speech of Nicolas, and also Bardo mentioned also the financial aspects. We consider that the financial aspects are really key, because if you have a wonderful technology but no one invests in this technology, you won't progress at all. So to make rail commercial success is our priority, and therefore we need affordable technologies. We need deployment programs covering all the aspects of the reality: innovation, technology, reliability, resilience, cybersecurity, safety, everything, but also finance, considered as well, as strongly as the other aspects of the project. And last but not least, in a systemic approach of the railways, all the elements of the system are taken into account. All the actors of the systems are included in the discussions and also in the decisions. And also, they're also mentioned in all the regulations and the TSIs. And this is not the case currently. So the lessors are relatively new players born around the years 2000s. So they could be better included in some regulations. But it's not only a question of inclusion of players as such, it's also a question of definition of roles. Who is committed to do something, who is responsible, and what is the beginning and the end of its responsibility. We need to better define the interactions between the players, in particular at that time when we have now much more players than in the past. We think that it's really key and let's take 2 examples. We ask for that, for a better definition of roles in the TSI energy. But this is also a necessity, I think, for the activity of maintenance. The ECMs are new players, and we think that the interactions between ECMs, keepers, railway undertakings, and manufacturers could be described. It could be very useful to describe their interactions, for instance, in new TSI. In conclusion, we think that the railways would highly benefit of developing a systemic vision for the future, because more inclusion, understanding, and collaboration, clarified interactions will lead to more affordable market uptake of game-changing technologies, enhancing interoperability. It will lead to rail becoming a commercial success for all players, and finally, it will help to achieve our final goal, meaning rail becoming the backbone of European transport system. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Carol. Now we have still more or less half an hour for a further discussion. Before going for a second round of the table, I wish to check if there are any questions. We can take, let's say, 2 or 3 questions from the audience, even from online audience. If there is, we have one first question here. Can we?
Thank you. I'm Antonio Lugara. I would like to link with some of the precious input that we received from Mr. Scapati, specifically the potentialities that there are for regarding the integration of the data domains coming from, for instance, train operators and infrastructure operators. In fact, according also to me and a paper that I wrote on this topic, if we imagine to equip commercial fleet with the tier 1 equipment sensors like accelerators, very cheap devices, it is possible to have a first analysis of the entire network, and we could do that in a continuous way, because right now the diagnostic trains that are very well equipped, but they have a frequency of passage that could be since 2 weeks up to 6 months. So in this time, we all know that from structural engineering perspective is a kind of geological era, because can be cycle and tove cycles, freeze tove cycles, could be displacement of the foundation, could be a lot of phenomena. So how we could incentivize now 2 different entities, train operators and infrastructure operators, to work together and to have this kind of approach. Because let's imagine that having a continuous monitoring means that even for old bridges where we don't have any idea regarding the current state, we could assess the vibration in response of that response to the bridge when the dynamic load is approaching the bridge, and evaluating data like stiffness of the bridge, inertial responses, and considering even the ballast as a viscoelastic layer that can be modeled. We think we should understand which big value we can provide for the maintainability of the railway system, even if we think about some incidents that happened. For instance, in Italy, we know about some rails broken and so on and so forth. So my question is, of course, for you and for all the other stakeholders that are here with us today and works for European Community and other agencies. Which could be the way to incentivize, even economically, to do this kind of approach in order to improve the indicators of safety and security of the infrastructure? Thank you very much.
I speak in general, no, because no, I think the problem is that the operators with the infrastructure work always together, no? As for example, the RFI and the Trenitalia or the other operator can work on the experimental with some university, as for example the Sant'Anna Institute in Pisa or the Politecnico di Milano, etc., about the interconnection of this. The problem for us, we see, but for the rail world, it's that the single operator and sometimes the single infrastructure work alone in this, and so we have to create before. I speak about this. We have to create, we have to think some transversal project as for the FRMCS, okay, that can involve a lot of members, and so in a different country to work together. This is the problem, that we have a lot of experimental situation, and sometimes is very good, for the results, etc. But they are not interconnected. No, before I speak about the possibility to work with the single members, with the technical direction of the single member, before to go in the big tables as the Rolling Stock Rail System Forum or something, not to understand the desiderata that the single members, and so the operators and the infrastructure have in different countries, and so we can find a unique proposal to work all together, as for a big example of the ticketing, for example, of the FRNCMS, etc. This is, I think, the next steps that I want to manage, because sometimes in the tables that we have and we see in a different country, usually we propose some specific project, very detailed, very technical, but very detailed, that not connect all together a lot of members in different countries, but sometimes a small number of this is my answer in general. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Nato.
Like to talk.
Has something to say.
Yes. Fidel, you can talk.
Thank you. I think that indeed this question is very much in line with two of the elements I was presenting before. One of them for sure is the Data Act that already regulates how two parties can exchange information. And then we have the provision B2B and how to arrange for contracts that are going to be fair for everybody. But I also was mentioned telematics and the fact that regardless of what we hope is going to be the adoption this year, I also would like to remind ourselves that all our legislation is always open. So if we were to find that by industry-owned private arrangements, we are missing an opportunity to capitalize on that information from the point of view of the infrastructure and infrastructure maintenance. I could imagine a future where indeed any part of the sector is proposing to add that information into telematics, and then we will have an harmonized obligation to provide that information when that information is available. But as you say, I mean, if we think about the laboratory gyroscopes and whatnot, they're pretty cheap right now, probably they are everywhere. So as I always say, we are very much looking forward to the sector to further develop these ideas and initiatives to get the best, most efficient rail system that we're going to have. But if we were to find that there are divergent solutions or that certain solutions are just not implemented, then I would say that that would be a very good opportunity for the Commission to act. Thanks.
Also, Baldo, can to answer?
Yes, thank you, Paolo. Well, I would like to tackle the issue from another perspective, which is the business perspective. We in AM we have a group called Advanced Data Analytics, where experts in this field they gather together, they share information, share experience, and on maintenance, predictive maintenance technology, and so on and so forth. Clearly, what I see here is the problem of having a business case, meaning that, as Fidel said, I mean, the legislation is there, so that is okay, but still, it's important for the infrastructure managers and railway undertakings to understand what they can get out from the different solution proposed in terms of a different project, if you want, in terms of their own business. And that is always the crucial questions, because for what I mean, again, from my experience, I see that there are massive investments from individual infrastructure managers as well as railway undertakings, in making use all the data or different, let's say, technologies, allowing them to assess or to check the state of the art for instance, of the infrastructures. As I said, I mean, maintenance in a wider context, without getting into the details. So if they have to change into a new ways of data sharing, data management, new technological tools, and new digital, say, architecture as well. Of course, this will mean that probably they have to put aside probably the architecture as they have developed so far, and to get into a new kind of setting. And this is it's a complex, not only technological speaking, is a complex exercise, but also it costs money. So, and there is where I think we have the usual difficulties of these projects within the country, but also cross-border, where it is important to create awareness and to show in a very concrete way what are the benefits out of the massive investment that they have to undertake in terms of gaining for efficiency and effective efficiency of operations, and of course in the longer run, saving of costs.
Yeah, hi. I see this problem as a multi-layer problem. You have the company challenge, because you are with data coming from a manufacturer, a vehicle. Perhaps in your contract between the RU and the manufacturer, you didn't set up that the data from the vehicle, connected vehicle, could be read or not. This is going to be solved with the Data Act, but today it's an issue because some companies share, some companies don't share. So this is the first enterprise company layer. And then you have the technical data layer that perhaps the models are different, unit transformation, the standards, the call, the track ID is different that in one, but this is more technically solvable. That's what we are working at. But you need also to solve the company challenge. That I think that is because you are buying a Tesla and super expensive, and you cannot have access to what is gathering the information that it collects. So yeah.
I can add something. No, I think the company sometimes spend a lot of money, with the university collaboration, etc., to create some system, and so we use this system in the country. The problem is, I think, when we want to manage the cross-border train, for example, that we have two different systems, and I have a lot of examples. For example, Italy with the SBB, or Italy with OBB, etc. And so this is the problem. And so I think we can resolve this to anticipate some standard and to work all together, all the different country and members with this standard. Otherwise, it's very impossible, as the colleagues told, because every company already spend a lot of money, and so they don't want to go in a different standard, because you have to spend a lot of money to change all the things. And so I think the very important thing is to anticipate some project and have a standardization of some project, so all the members participate in one only type of project before then they start to work alone. Okay.
There was a question?
Yes, yes, it was a question for Marina. So you presented the definition of ontology, and it is key for a good interoperability. So my question is, in TC9X, Senelec, we are using a lot the definition provided by IC in the dictionary Electropedia. And so there are more than 1,000 definitions related to railways. And my question is, do you use as an input this definition because it is already standardized in the ontology that you present in the agency?
I don't know if we are using it I think that we are, as much as there is a standard, we don't invent a term, by sure. We were checking RailX also. Yeah, we have, and I'm sure that I was aware that there was a Senelec standard working on terminology. So yes, sometimes we have the challenge that they are not always available, and that, but I think that we. Perfect. Perfect. Then, by sure, we will. If we are not using, we will. Yes. Thank you.
I don't know if you know, but we have we see a team, a team very, very strong, very important for the terminology. And so now a lot of different countries in the world, outside the Europe, naturally, want and insist to take part in this terminology world. And so I think we can collaborate a lot on this for the new terms. Yeah, exactly. We have some people that work on this, specifically on this, on the way Isabel and certain the terminology. Yeah, exactly. And so we can contact you directly.
Okay, so we are now approaching the end of this panel, but before finishing, I wish to put a last question to the keynote speakers. You have only 2 minutes each of you to answer, but I hope you can give us a flash about your personal vision on the railway, on the system, the railway system of the future. So I start with Fidel. Which will be in the future? I understand the future is not very precise, but let's say at least in a time frame of 30 years.
Oh, but 30 years is very short term in rail. I mean, I'm thinking more about my grandchildren, and definitely my vision is that we have a single European railway area, and you can take a train from, I don't know, Sevilla, for example, in southern Spain, and you can go to Gdansk. The train, you don't need to change trains, there's no need to change the train driver, and the train is only stopping at the stars because people is coming in and out. That will be one part of that very long-term vision, and definitely we're doing our best to go in that direction. And I also would like to see a very healthy ecosystem from all actors in the rail system, infrastructure managers, railway undertaking, and manufacturers. Here, I really would like to see a market where we see all kind of actors operating in that single market. So not having, having the possibility for new entrants to come in as providing rail services, as providing components for rail systems, and then being the, as I said, a very open and healthy ecosystem. That will be my view. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Adriano?
I think the word for the future is the competition collaborative. And so, I think the problem now this is not easy. I think it's the future to develop this different concept. It's not easy if you want to create, for example, an high-speed network in Europe, and so we can work all together on create this network. And so after we can start with the competition, no? But all the preparation of the network and the services, we can work together. It's not easy. The second point is, I think the mobility in the future can depend to connect and not work alone. And I come back to the question, because you have to merge, for example, the innovation with the standardization. And so we have to work together. The different teams on innovation have to work together with the standardization, because sometimes work completely separate, and so it's in the opposite side, standardization and innovation. And so, for example, sustainability and efficiency, the same things. Now, a lot of teams work separately in these two items that is in the opposite direction. And the other is the local needs and the desiderata, etc., that I speak before with the colleagues, have to be connected from the beginning for the international visions. This is, I think, the future for the rail, for me, in my side.
Okay, thank you. Now, Nicolas.
So to answer your question, Paolo, on my side, I see three areas to, let's say, get efficient highways in the future. The first one is the simplification of the system. It's much more too complicated today. Let's be honest, you have many national rules. So this has an impact next on all the chain. So there is a need to harmonize the operational rules in Europe to make sure that we have European rules and not a set of national rules in the member states. For me, this is a key priority. The second one is the cost reduction. If we want to be competitive, there is a need at the system level to get cost reduction. So there will be different ways to achieve this. But what we are trying to do in the GU is to work all together to achieve this target. The third, for me, area is the cooperation. So I think it has been seen in the panel, you have different stakeholders in the rail sectors representing a group of stakeholders with their interests. And so we respect this, but there is a need to have full cooperation between the sector, the Commission and agency and the GU to make sure we all work together. So we are doing it. There are some challenges, of course, but we are doing it. But at the end, the main objective is that we all work together to make rail better. Because if we stick to our own positions, either it takes a lot of time, and we know that, if you see other sectors, how they can innovate or go quickly, for the rail sector it's much more longer, and I think there is a way if we want to digitalize, we need to improve this. And also we want to take in consideration some new threats, if I can say, like cybersecurity or resilience of the railways, so being resilience to security or resilience to climate change. There's a need to act now and not to wait too long. So it's better to get harmonized European framework supported by all that next relying on national ones that at the end will bring the same issues that we have today regarding the development of the rail transport sector.
Thank you. Now, Marina, your point of view.
Yes, as a citizen, I hope that in 2 years' time I can ask my mobile, I want to return by train to Bilbao in the lowest or in the cheapest way, and automatically give me a train ticket, and automatically, if it is delayed, it will refund me. So something that means that all the companies below are connected and making business and exchange properly. That today you need to, sometimes you enter in a platform and the price is different than in the other platform. It's a mess. For the passenger, it's a mess. And then for the freight, I don't know, but in the road domain, the lorries agree with the kind of on-demand services, and they are much more competitive. Why cannot do on-demand train freights for some routes, or kind of more flexible and be more cost-effective? I think that we should, I hope that not for the 30 years, but 5 years at least, we should integrate better with other transport domains, of course. Yeah, that's what I wish. And simplification, I fully agree with Nicole. That is super. It demands also, the problem is human resource, because at the end, there will be no expert capable of understand what we have designed, so complicated also. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Bardo, please.
Yes. Very briefly, 4 points. The first one, of course, what we would like to see in a few years' time is to make sure that we have a resilient and efficient, digitally efficient, if you want, infrastructures that can support an open market of as many operators as possible. And of course, for this, we need, and I fully agree with what Nicola said, less rules, more harmonized approach at all different levels, and without entering into the discussion, but that clearly is what we need. Second point, I would like to see even further multimodal integrated railway system within other modes. Because at the end of the day, we have to serve our customers, which are the citizens, the businesses, and we need to make sure that we are enough business-oriented or citizen-oriented to serve the let's say, the needs, and multimodality is definitely one of the areas that we have to also to look at. Then third point, open to innovation. Definitely, I mean, we're getting somehow slowly there, but we need to really have a good EU governance, as Carol said before, and cooperation linked to innovation and fast deployment of the let's say, the technological solutions. And last, but maybe not least, is to also to make sure that we have a high-speed network enough developed to connect all the capitals, and so that we can avoid to take flights.
Thank you very much. So now, Carol, which is your view?
Thank you. I think that the railway system should be managed as a system, so through a systemic approach, which means that we should be open to change and innovation, and open to a lot of players. Open to change and innovation, but only on the basis of deep analysis, covering all the aspects of the reality, technological, political, socio-political, and financial, which means that only affordable technologies and innovations will be implemented, and open to a lot of players with roles well-defined and interactions well-defined, what will improve collaboration even between competitors.
Thank you very much. So my final personal experience, I started working in railway research in the 80s. It was a long time ago, and there was more or less no ICT. Now we have a complete different situation. We have a lot of ICT, a lot of innovation, because I think in the past, sometimes in some innovative initiatives, I received answers like, oh, railway are a traditional sector, it is too early for this, it is not yet the right time, and so on. But now the situation changed dramatically. I see that the railway sector is much more open to innovation. Of course, this puts challenges, and we heard a lot about these challenges today, but the positive final result is that innovation is needed and will go on despite the difficulties. and this will make railways better for the future, whatever this future will be. So thank you very much to everyone. First of all, to the keynote speakers, both here and online. And we now have a break for lunch, and we will meet again in about 1 hour. So thank you.
Practically,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Adios.
practical information. The lunch is in the cafeteria of Alberto Aguilera 23. It's the next building. You can follow Adriana, or you can follow me. Also, there is Adriana. No. Adriana is your. Sorry, my student, but I never remember her name. Or also, there is people in the room that know ICADE. So please. They're waiting for us for the cocktail. Is it ready? Also, important, you can leave here your computers. The room is going to be locked.